It's going to be an interesting debate, as I outlined before, very different to what we've had before. No live audience, of course, the mics, as you've just said, are going to be muted. They're not going to have any notes either. It's just going to be pen and paper and a glass of water, I believe. And a lot of this is what Biden has asked for. They've very much gone for a debate that they think Biden might actually be able to perform okay at, very deliberately.
Well, let's also keep in mind that the President Biden, is now resting at Camp David for several days ahead of this. I mean, it is unbelievable what they are doing to get this guy ready. I understand why, considering some of the viral clips that we've seen in the last few days here with President Biden. But it's unbelievable. They know that the expectations are where they are. They have to come out and perform. Let's keep in mind, and I've tried to warn my U.S. colleagues about this here in the States, is that President Biden's been in politics for over half a century. He spent decades in the United States Senate, which is probably the premier debate society, if you will. And so we shouldn't keep the bar too low for him. He knows what he's doing. I think he'll be rested up. He'll come out. But the issue is that Trump's got to stay on the issue of record and policy. Biden doesn't have anything to campaign on. Nothing is going well in this country when it comes to his policies. He's going to talk about abortion and democracy. The American people want to talk about a secure border. They want to talk about energy independence. They want to talk about lower cost of doing business, lower interest rates, et cetera. So, I mean, Biden doesn't have much to talk about in terms of policy, and that's where Trump should focus.
What's the risk of Trump going a bit off track, though, do you think? I mean, you know, when you watch Trump, especially lately, you know, he loves to have a bit of fun, right? And sometimes he can veer off the message a bit, which is fine when you're at a rally, but it doesn't necessarily work so well at a debate.
You're absolutely right. I think you put that very diplomatically. So, look, here's what I would argue. I don't think Trump has a lot to lose. People look at him very much the way that you described. He's pugnacious. He fights. He doesn't stay on script. They know what they're getting. There's no American that thinks that that's who Trump is. So if he actually stays focused on his record and policies, it'll be a huge win for him. I don't think he has much to lose. That being said, conversely, Joe Biden is the one, as you properly stated, that asked for these rules, that wanted this debate on CNN, a left-leaning network, that wanted it at this date. So he has everything to lose. And Biden really needs to show up and do well. I think it's one thing to stand in front of a podium and give remarks for 30, 40 minutes. It's another thing to exchange ideas back and forth in a debate. And we'll see how he does. But make no mistake, Biden is the one with a lot to lose Thursday night. No one's going to be surprised if Trump comes out the way you described and kind of starts going after him.
Well, as we've just been talking about, he's been out on the campaign trail, cracking jokes and basically making fun of the upcoming debate. Have a look.
He's sleeping now because they want to get him good and strong. So a little before debate time, he gets a shot in the ass, and they want to strengthen him up. So he comes out. He'll come out. I say he'll come out all jacked up, right? All jacked up.
I mean, it's going to be one hell of a job. But of course, the interesting thing here, and I still can't really work it out, is why Biden himself asked for these debates.
It's a good question that you're asking. And I think the only conclusion is they needed something to shake up this race. And this was the only thing that they had. I'm with you, though. I'm not so sure I would have called for it this early. I think that what they wanted is ahead of the Republican convention to do something that would shake up Trump's momentum. And the other thing is, look, they banked on the conviction that he got in New York, and they want to continue down this path of branding him. This has all been a branding exercise to be able to ask the American people, can you vote for a convicted felon? I mean, granted, we all know it's a misdemeanor offense for an internal bookkeeping thing 7 years ago. But the bottom line is this is part of their exercise. And I think that they didn't have much left in the tank, so to speak.
Now, Trump's Mar-a-Lago classified documents hearing got underway today, and the prosecution was asking the judge to include in his bail conditions that he wouldn't be able to make any remarks that would endanger FBI agents. The judge has pushed back on that. I mean, you know, it's another example of them trying to stifle him as they tried to do in the previous quote-unquote hush money cases you were just talking about.
Yeah, it's interesting because generally gag orders are to protect the defendant. And again, it doesn't make sense. You have to ask yourself, why do FBI agents need protecting? It's not like there's an individual in particular that he's going after. He's talking about the raid on his place and how it was handled. He's not singling out an individual whose life might be threatened or anything. This, again, is just another example, though, of them trying to silence him, right? So they're trying to silence him ahead of a debate, ahead of the Republican National Convention, where he's going to be out speaking, maybe even talking about it at rallies. But they're throwing everything at the kitchen sink at this guy to try to slow his momentum down. You saw today there was this fact check from an organization called Snopes that said that this incident that occurred in Charlottesville, Virginia 7 years ago, well, by golly, it actually wasn't accurate what the left and Obama, I mean, what Biden and others, Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader here, have been saying about that incident. They've done everything they can to stop him over the last few cycles. And I think, you know, you saw the Steele dossier, the Russia hoax, the attempt to pull him off the ballot, the court cases. They literally are stopping at nothing to try to slow down Donald Trump. I just don't think that they've ever realized how powerful his movement is.
Exactly. Look, they should keep doing it. It just keeps building him up, I think. And just very quickly before we go, of course, we learned today that Julian Assange, the founder of WikiLeaks, an Australian, of course, has struck a plea bargain with the Department of Justice in the US that will see him come back to Australia. Your response?
Look, I'm personally disappointed in that. I get what this is a little bit of a dance here. He's going to go to a territory of the U.S. Normally, you have to be in the U.S. proper where the charges were filed. Then he gets to return back to you guys in Australia. I'm just disappointed. I take classified documents. Obviously, there's a big difference between people who might mishandle them and someone who intentionally does it. And that's what he did. He threatened and undermined national security of the United States willfully and knowingly. And I think that's a big issue in our judicial system. Did you mean what you were attempting to do, or was it by mistake? He willfully did this. And I think that he should be punished for it. And I'm a little disappointed that the government is letting him off the hook.
Sean Spicer, thank you for your time.
You bet.